not circumcised. So the thing is, God said, I'll kill you if you don't circumcise your son. So the thing is that immediately his wife, right, retrieved a knife and circumcised their son. Wasn't no chasing.
Weird. It's just a weird story.
Okay, and what's
the Amur
is there?
Papyrus?
What'd you say?
Are you familiar with the Amur Papyrus?
Imur?
Yes, Amur Papyrus. IMUR.
How do I spell that?
It's where the Book of Moses came, or where Exodus came from.
Imur, you mean the Ipover Papyrus?
IMUER?
No, it's IPUWER, and it's pronounced IPUWER. Right. Secondly, it's not where the Book of Moses. It's not where the Book of Moses came from. Okay, I don't know why you think that the Torah came from this.
Because the plagues are almost identical.
Okay, so so first of all, right, you do understand, okay, that when it comes to the dating of ancient Egyptian documents, right,
You're disagreeing with the dating.
I'd say that the dating in of itself, right, I'm not. The dating is an estimate between 400 years. Now, the thing is, when it comes to the dating of Egyptian documents, there's various disputes, regarding such things. So the thing is, I would not take, and the dating is already within a certain range of centuries.
But 400 or 500 years is well beyond the margin of error.
So you believe that an estimate, a very, very rough estimate, right, based off of limited information, is nowhere near the margin of error?
I think it's better information than, oh, that's wrong, this book is right.
I'm not saying that, no, that's wrong, this book is right. Secondly, the estimate, okay, comes from already very, very, very limited historical information about the origin of this papyrus. So the thing is, I would already say one should not immediately take the dating. Hold on. One should not take the dating, right, into some kind of, into some kind of one should not put too much, I would say, stock in the dating, if you know what I mean. Secondly, now, the thing is, right, how do you know that this one writing, which was from a person called Ipover, right? Ipover was a person who documented, he was a poet, right, and a historian, okay? The person who wrote this papyrus. Right. Now, tell me, you understand that there is only one copy of this papyrus that has been found, and there is no mention of this papyrus in any other ancient Egyptian sources or hints to any such thing.
So the thing is, of the Jews being in Egypt.
There actually are mentions of the Jews being in Egypt. There's actually lists of Hebrew slave names which are found. I can literally show you them.
Ooh, I'd like to see that.
I will bring them now.
I'm sure they're refuted. What does the other side say?
What do you mean refuted?
The people that don't believe that these are slave names from Israelites. What do they say?
Do you think that the name? So, can you tell me right now? Do you think the name like Menachem or like, for example,
you're arguing with me. I'm asking you what they say.
I have not seen any sort of.
No one refutes this.
Yeah, I haven't seen any sort of refutation to such a thing.
Wow, unrefuted evidence. Wow. Okay, yeah, I'd love to see that.
I will post it. I will post it right now. Go to debate text. Here you go. Okay. Now, anyways, as I was saying,
I can't read that.
You can read the text on the margins. Now, anyways, so the thing is,
royalty.
Can I continue?
Brooklyn Museum of Art. I wish I would know what this meant. I read through this.
I can't read any of that.
I can't. That's hard.
You can't read the text in the margins.
You just tell me what it is so I can Google it on my own.
Yeah, I remember looking this up later. I don't remember the name of the papyrus.
God damn it,
Here, you look up like papyrus Hebrew slave names, but yeah. So, anyways, I see if I can find it.
Well, okay, but I think Moses would go out with a few more Hebrews other than just there
were millions of them.
Yeah, right. That would leave a ton more evidence, especially in the.
This is the other atheist cope. So
aren't they also the worst orienteers ever if they got lost in an area for 40 years?
They weren't lost. This is another weird atheist cope. Why don't you guys ever read the Bible? No, they didn't get lost in the desert. Is that there were other nations inhabiting the nation of Israel at the time, and it took years to combat them and expel them.
So anyways, limited.
No, I didn't say no. I didn't say that this papyrus is the only Hebrews that existed. I'm saying there is a list of Hebrew slave names. This is one group of slaves. I didn't say the entire nation. Once again, it's a weird atheist cope. So, anyways, as I was saying, there's no other copies of the Apova Papyrus which were found. Its dating is already within an estimate based off of limited information, right? There are no other mentions of the Apova Papyrus or explicit references to the Apova Papyrus in any sort of other, discovered archaeological artifact in Egyptology. And so the thing is that to suggest that similarities equal copying is entirely erroneous, especially when you consider that one, the writing style of the 5 books of Moses is entirely deviated from the Apova Papyrus. It is not in any sort of Egyptian poetic style, whereas the Apova Papyrus is. The Apova Papyrus speaks heavily of different allegories, so on and so forth, especially when talking about the plagues, and it's an entirely baseless allegation. But yeah.
I have a question. You earlier said that the entire thought that all of this happened was like carried on from generation to generation and all of that, and
Affirmed in
people
every single
believed
generation,
it.
yes.
Yeah. So how do you square that with Philo of Alexandria and like how there
Philo
were
of
lots of people who actually
Alexandria.
thought like him?
Baruch Hashem,
Yeah.
Philo of Alexandria affirmed that the fire came down from Sinai when he wrote an entire biography on the Book of Moses and affirmed Moses as the preeminent prophet and affirmed the events of the Exodus. Like, what do you mean? How do you reconcile this with Philo?
Philo of Alexandria affirms not all of what happened. He considers a lot of it to be absurd.
No, he doesn't.
And that it has to be allegorical.
You have not read On the Life of Moses if you think that Philo affirmed that the events of the Exodus did not happen, nor that the miracles in the Exodus happened. You just have not.
At the very least, he affirms that Genesis did not happen.
Read On the Life of Moses. I don't know what he says about Genesis, but once again, Philo admitted that he was a deviant from traditional Judaism as well. Secondly, we don't see any sort of mass influx of Jews really in any single generation denying that the 5 books of Moses were authentic, or that the events of the Exodus, the events of Genesis, and the events of Numbers and Deuteronomy were all true. Because even, for example, the king Menashe in the time of Isaiah, who had apostatized to a form of idolatry, to a form of Assyrian idolatry, had actually said that Moses was the preeminent prophet and affirmed each of the events as they occurred at Mount Sinai and so on and so forth, and affirmed the lineages in Genesis and the events of Genesis, the creation story, so on and so forth. Secondly, there are also, if any of you have heard of the what is it called? The Elephantine Papyrus. If you read the papyrus, I can post an entire English translation of all the contents of the papyrus found at Elephantine. This is dated to the time of Nehemiah the prophet, which is the same time of Ezra the prophet, around the 400s, 500s BC. Okay, this came from a group of pagans at Elephantine who had made a syncretic religion, basically mixing traditional Judaism and the worship of the God of Israel, with the name of the Tetragrammaton, with another idol, with a Canaanite idol. Okay, now the thing is that they actually affirm what was then the canonized Tanakh within this Elephantine papyrus. They did so when they did so in their epistle, or when they documented their epistle to the head of the temple at the time, who the same head of the temple is also called the high priest, right, with the head of the temple inside the book of Nehemiah, once again affirming the historicity of the book of Nehemiah. When essentially they wrote an epistle to this high priest, requesting that they receive approval from the central authority in the city of Jerusalem, which was the Levitical priesthood, once again affirming the Levitical priesthood's authority established in Deuteronomy 17, right, asking them as a request whether or not they could build the temple. And they had also mentioned in this, when they were documenting what they said within the epistle, they mentioned how they affirmed all of the miracles in the tabernacle and within the temple, and as well professed to share the same beliefs about their predecessors within, when it came to the idea of scripture and faith, as the Levitical priesthood as the Levitical priesthood at this time. Ironically enough, they also document how the Levitical priesthood rejected them because of the fact that they were polytheists in the same Elephantine papyrus.
Okay, let me ask you maybe one more question. Namely, isn't it true that Muslims too affirm that all of the miracles that Prophet Muhammad supposedly did actually happened generation after generation for quite some time now?
Can I tell you right now? I don't doubt that he made it appear as if he performed these things. we believe that people can perform sorcery, for example, that they can, or they can do sorcery or like illusions, etc., to make it appear as if they are performing these miracles, such as the idea of the splitting of the moon. But the thing is that like for example, we don't necessarily believe that Moses was, that he was telling a true prophecy, etc., because the fact that the fire came down and led the nation of Israel out of Egypt. However, we believe that he was indeed a true prophet because of the fact that you have a chain of infallible figures, right? And the reason why they are infallible is because they are established as infallible by the first human being to ever exist, Adam, going all the way back to Adam himself. So,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm out. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Dang. Cyrus, if you can't,
I was falling asleep. Sorry.
If you cannot respond to such a thing, Baruch Hashem. But the thing is that I mean,